Hello, this is Leonardo, aka DJ Show Pop, and we're going to go ahead and do our next section of singles for the VAP singles, 111 through 119, which I call the next 10-ish, because I always want to do the first 10, because when you do any top list, you always do the top 10s. And then you want to do 20 through 29, which leaves the teens missing a record, because you only do 11 through 19. So 10 would typically be the one that I discussed right here, Nishida. I did a big video on him. If you want to look at his background and the era of his records and stuff and his singles, I did a really in-depth video on his career. And so I'm just going to start off this video with this image so you remember that this is record 110. So let's go ahead and let's do the next 10-ish records. All right, so the first one here is by a gentleman. This is number 111-07 by Yoshito Machida,枯葉の街in B-side Gypsy Woman. It was released in October 1981. Yoshito Machida had been in the Japanese music career since the 60s. He was in a band called the Zunivu. And this is the record right here. I only have one of their records, but they're a pretty cool band, late 60s. It's considered cult GS group sounds. They came out a little bit later, had a little bit more of a sophisticated sound, actually kind of more of a 70s pop sound as opposed to a 60s pop sound. But he was in this band. I don't know which one he is in the picture, because people in the 60s look very different from the people in the 80s. So he changed, over that 10, 15 year career of having hits and everything. But this is the band he was in. This band was on Columbia, I believe. And they had about 5 singles, and they did one album, and I think they had a best of. So Yoshida became a solo artist in the 70s. And he had already released a few albums by the time this single came out. The A-side is, he was a singer-songwriter. The A-side was by Yoshito Machida and Osamu Hara. And the lyrics by Yoshiko Miura, who is a very, as I mentioned hundreds of the time, probably the most prolific lyrics of the 70s and 80s was by Yoshiko. So she did the lyrics on this. And the music on the B-side is by Toshihara Sakai. Neither Osamu or Toshihara Sakai had many credits. Lyrics by Toshihara Jitsukawa under the alias Shun Jitsukawa. He was also a member of a GS group called the Mammy Rose, and they released a soul single in 1969. A very difficult single to find. Again, there's a lot of GS groups that only did like one record, and they're a good example of that. Yoshida, he was a former member of the GS group sounds Zunivu. He became a singer-songwriter and wrote a lot of soundtracks and records under his own name. And one thing about Yoshito is that he was kind of a cult. He was like a cult artist. A lot of people liked his music. He was well respected, and he had a cult following of fans through the 70s and 80s. So he was really real lucky to kind of grow away from his GS era and was able to have a career where many of the GS performers and musicians really didn't get a chance to follow their love for music into the 70s and 80s. But Yoshito definitely was very lucky. And it's a great record, both sides. A-side is a great moody atmosphere. It's kind of a soft rock sound. It has some cool swagger. He kind of had a nice swagger to him. And some great guitar and electric piano through it. It's very, very GS. No, I'm sorry, not GS. It's very city pop. Has a nice atmosphere. If you like a more moody, atmospheric city pop sound. And Gypsy Woman, the B-side, is also another atmospheric song with some soft rock, electric piano-driven ballad. Both sides are really great. This is a really good record. It's not too hard to find, but it's available. You just got to keep your eyes open for it. I give it high regards, and there's an album, and it has the exact same album cover on it. And it's definitely, the album is definitely worth picking up. Both his VAP releases, he only had the album and this single, are worth picking up. Very good, very, very good music, and real impressed with the sound of his one shot on being on VAP Records. Now, the second song, the second single is this one right here. And this is 112-07, and this is by Ben Sasaki. And the name of the A-side is called Hitorigoto, and the B-side is Sayonara. It was also released in October 1981. And its lyrics and music by Ben Sasaki and arranged by Kozaburo Yamaki. He had a long career, that arranger, from 1961. And he worked with a lot of like 60s and 70s artists, Maki Asakawa, and was in the group Toshiyuki Miyami and the New Herd, which was another kind of late 60s GS kind of new folk group that was around at that time. No, actually, I'm sorry. Toshiyuki Miyami and the New Herd was kind of more of a jazz ensemble that was around at that time. They had a lot of records that were out at that time, and they were around through the late 60s, I think through the 70s. And they were kind of known for doing a lot of like soundtrack and cover songs with instrumentals and stuff. So Ben Sasaki, the gentleman who's credited on this record as the singer and the writer, he also had a long career working with many more of the mellow soft rock GS groups and folk groups such as the Blue Comets, the Savage, and the Broadside 4. Those three bands, they tend to have more of a softer GS sound. So he was more on the folky side of it and real soft rock sound. And he also recorded it and wrote for a lot of many Kaio singers through the 1970s, such as Momoe and Ikiko Wada. And so he was also another well-respected songwriter. And he had this single that came out. The A-side's more of a 70s Kaio sound, which is what his bread and butter was. I kind of don't expect him to do anything different. But the B-side is a very nice Kaio mid-tempo samba song. It's a bossa nova song, or samba. It's more mellower. So if you're into like that, a Japanese Brazilian sound, Brazilian songs tend to find that sound through Japanese records through the 60s, 70s, and 80s. This single is worth picking up for that sound alone because it's it's a really cool samba song, real mellow, and it's really cool. Yes, he tends to sing with a more deeper voice. His bread and butter is 70s Kaio, and so it's just going to affect his sound. One thing I find interesting is that both these records, and I'm going to try to squeeze this one over. So one thing about both these records is that they have like still life. Neither of their albums or neither of their singles picture the artist on them. And so the album actually has this exact cover, and this Ben Sasaki album has this exact cover. So, but I find it cool. I actually like that it's kind of a still life. It's very moody with the cigarette smoke and the sunglasses and the highball, and then the Ben Sasaki one has a woman's heels. And it's hard to see, but there's like a projected picture of a woman on the wall there. So I just find it very interesting that both of these artists were like legacy artists. They're the kind of artists you want on your label. They were going to sell 1,000 records, but you want to have people with that kind of respect and legacy with their careers. And so I find these two singles a very nice choice for VAP going into their second round of like 10 records. These were two really good artists that had a following and were well respected. So, all right, so we're gonna go ahead and go to this gentleman right here. Okay, this is a 11307. This is Ikko Furuya. And this one has the A and B side the B side has a long title, but it's 17 Sai no Koro is the A side, and then the B side is Omoe ba Toku ke Kitamanda. So I know I destroyed that, and this one came out in October 1981. Now, Ikko is a Japanese actor and singer. He I put him in the qualification of he's an actor that sings. And he had already released several singles and a handful of albums on the Panam and Crown label. So again, this is probably maybe about 2/3 into his career. He starts putting out records like in the early 70s, and he was a well-known guy. He had 4 singles and 1 album on VAP, and he was known for the lead role in the 1977 detective series Great Detective Kindaichi Kosuke. He played several leads on TV roles through the years. His son, Furuya Kenji, is the vocalist for the band Dragon Ash. Ikko was born in 1944, and unfortunately, he only passed away only 3 years ago. He died in 2022. This song, well, and I kind of want to get into also this gentleman here. And he's, again, here we got another, like a third singer that is kind of a well-known actor and well-loved actor, and who already had started a singing career. And VAP kind of picked him up and actually, you know, put out some releases by him. Again, I think this, again, a third release here is a very, to us who are looking at like, oh, it's not city pop or whatever, you have to look at what VAP was doing and what they wanted to do with the label. And this, I feel, is a great score. Another well-known actor who sings, who had several records out already. So this song that he covers, Sai no Koro, it's a cover song. And it was originally written by a folk group, Kaintai, for the Japanese National Railroad campaign in '78. So it was a CM campaign image song originally when it was recorded in earlier on, and in 1978. So this version of Sai no Koro by Ikko is an insert song for the TV drama Omeba Tuk Ikida Manda. And the B-side is the theme song to the same series. So an insert song is just a song that you're watching the TV and like somebody has like a television on, or they're at a restaurant and there's a song in the background, and basically that's what it is. It's an insert song. It's not the theme song. It's not the closing credits. It's just a song it's used within the series somewhere. And so the A-side is a cover song, but it's used in another TV show after it was used in a National Railway campaign in 1978. So apparently this song has some feet on it. There are many cover versions of it. And it was written by Hiroshi Watanabe, who wrote several anime soundtracks, and also wrote songs for Yoko Odogami, Kumi Miyasato, Mami Ayukawa, Shoko Sawada, and Yasuko Tamida. The guy who wrote it was a pretty prolific songwriter and did a lot of great music. The B-side, Omeya Batoku Ke Kita Manda, was by Yasuyo Yamaki, and he was from a folk group called Fuki no To, and the lyrics were by Tetsuya Takeda. So there's a lot of people involved with this. This song goes everywhere. It was part of a TV show, like I said. But it's a nice Kaio track. It's really good. The B-side especially. The flutes have a nice rural Japanese atmosphere in it. So even if it's a Kaio, it kind of has that countryside kind of sound to it. But it's really cool. It's a nice record. For what it is, it's a nice record. So overall, both tracks have a nice 70s folk rock type sound and creatively arranged. I'm going to talk about this at the end, but all these records, these next 10 records, they're all good. They're all good for what they are, for if it's Kaio or City Pop or Idol or whatever. These are really good records. All right, so this next one here, and then we get this in the center. All right, so this next one here is by a singer named Yasuji Matsumoto. This is 11407, and this A-side is called Bad Boy on Stage, and the B-side is Furuyo no Barado, Ballad of the Delinquent. That's what it translates to. And this is the first of 2 singles by Yasuji. And both sides were written by Shunichi Tokura, a writer with over 500 composer credits to his name, with a career dating back to 1969 for such artists as Akiko Wada, Linda Yamamoto, and Momoe. Lyrics by the legendary lyricist Yuaku, who has over 1,300 songs credited to his name. So Yuaku is another songwriter who was just everywhere. He wrote for a lot of people for an extended amount of time. Although you see him might appear as a male idol, he really had more of a connection to the punk rock music scene, even though his music doesn't reflect this. And I like him. It's really difficult for me to place him because I think the label wanted him to be an idol, like a male idol. But if you look at his website and just the way he's clothed, especially on the second one, it seems like he really wanted to do more of a punk rock sound. And the music doesn't reflect it. I really see him really just wanting to just be a singer and not be an idol. And it's just, he has a weird vibe, not him himself, but I think the label wanted to do one thing and he wanted to do another thing. But the music is good. It's more, the A-side is more of a pop rock sound. In fact, it actually sounds kind of like a Momoe rockin' song that a Momoe would have like on one of her album tracks or something. Very late 70s. And at this point, it's actually the most heaviest rock record on the label. And the hook and chorus kind of have a GS era hook, but heavier. So there's like a mix of sounds with this record. And the B-side is more of an awesome doo-wop teen style ballad sound with some great harmonies and a fitting period backup band that kind of has a nice doo-wop sound to it. So it has a great guitar solo as well, but originally I really didn't give too much for this record, but it's kind of grown on me, and they're good songs, and the second single is really good as well. But I don't know how to present him. Usually I can say, oh, this is an idol record, or this is a performer, an artist was what they would say in Japan. And I don't really know how to categorize him. You know, they're good songs, and they're good records. And apparently these are the only 2 records, at least as far as I know from the original 80s period that he did. These are the only 2 singles he's done. So I'll talk about him more, and I'm probably going to do like a specific video just for him later on. But I just do want to let you know that like it's very hard to categorize Yasuji to me. So I'll just leave it at that. All right. Now the next group here is going to be one of my favorite bands on VAP, and another one that's kind of lost. I considered Weekids, which is the name of this band, kind of Nishida is like the first city pop singer on VAP. I consider Weekids like the first sort of city pop band on VAP records. Not 100%, but an overall, there really isn't anybody that has this sound with VAP before Weekids comes along. So, as I said, this is record 11507. It's by a group called Weekids, and the A-side is called Fire. The B-side is called Close to Me. Came out November 1981. Like I said, I consider this really the first city pop / soft rock group on VAP. They're a soft rock group consisting of guitarist, songwriter Yusuke Nakamura and keyboardist Megumi Maru. Other members include guitarist Hayato Yamaguchi, drummer Makoto Kobayashi, and bassist Tetsu Yamamoto. One of my favorite Japanese rock groups. They have an excellent sound. Again, all the members are fantastic with their instruments. And it's unfortunate because they only did 3 singles and 1 album. This is the first single right here. I consider Yasuke and Megumi excellent songwriters and arrangers. Megumi appears as a keyboardist on many records in the late 70s and 80s. And honestly, I have great respect for her. She's just awesome. It's just like she arranges all the albums, and her arrangements are fantastic. And Yasuke had a very active career with Weekids, being one of his many projects over the years. He wrote several anime themes, insert songs such as Lupin the Third, Macross 7, Giant Gorg. He also wrote for Meiko Nakahara and Kiko Mizukoshi. So he's a heavy guy. He's has a big career and a great songwriter. Had a long career. I think he's still putting out music. And so you got 2 really awesome, incredible musician, Megumi and Yasuke, getting together and doing this band. It's great. Yasuke wrote both songs and lyrics by lyricist Yoshiko Miura, and of course, as I said before, Megumi did the arrangements. And I can just, again, I'm going to say it again, Yasuke and Megumi are exceptional artists and performers and musicians. So this single, and that's not them on the cover, those are just a couple models on the cover there. This is such a great record. Fire is an incredible atmospheric mid-tempo rock song with Yasuke's great soulful lyrics and incredible melody, inventive layered guitar riffs. Megumi's airy arrangement makes this an incredible recording. As a rock band, they really had their chemistry together. To me, they were like Montana Brothers. They were at that level. I like Montana Brothers. I hold them in very high regards. Of individual accomplishment of their instruments and knowing how to play cohesively as a solid unit. This record is a fantastic example of their sound. The B-side is exclusive, Close to Me. So it's not on their album. This is the only way you can get the B-side. It's also a great up-tempo rock song. It's a real treat to listen to how the musicians interact with each other. Another great melody and great guitar riffing is top-level Muguvi's piano intro and outro. Also gives a song a presence. And I also find it interesting, again, as I'm going to talk about the cover again, that the cover doesn't feature the artist. It's but it's an interesting choice. I like it. I think it's very for the band Weekids. I think this kind of atmosphere is what they wanted. They wanted this like cool rock look to them. So yeah, my next artist video is going to be on Weekids. I got their album and their 3 singles. I really would like to talk to them in more depth and maybe get some more exposure to new collectors that are not familiar with them yet. But yeah, great single. If there's a single to get from these 9 that I'm showing you, this is number 1 right there. I love Weekids. They're great. All right, went too far. All right, so here we are with the second single by Nico Ramsden, who was the gentleman that had the first single on VAP and the first album on VAP. And I've talked, if you've seen the previous video, he was in a band called Boys Don't Cry. It's the second single that he released on the label. And it's called 1016-07 by Nico Ramsden, Day After Day. And the B-side is Too Loose, Too Soon, and it was released in November 1981. Nico Ramsden's second single, Day After Day, is for a Fuji cassette Radio CM song. So it's a commercial for the television and radio and everything. And another fine single. It's a great horn-driven soft rock song with some great Nico singing and guitar playing. I prefer the B-side, and that's going to be a theme for me when we start doing more of these records. Most of the time I prefer the B-side over the A-side, and this is another example. Too Loose, Too Soon is a funny tongue-in-cheek song about loose women with some inventive key changes throughout. This could have easily been an A-side, and like I said, I think the A-side is good, but I think it could have been an A-side, a hit in the United States or England. It has a really good sound, and it's a fun record. It's more of a tongue-in-cheek song, but it's a good song nonetheless. Nico sings it with a woman, but she's uncredited on the record, so I don't know who it is. I try to find some information, but there's not a lot of stuff on Nico online. But honestly, the record it's not city pop or anything. It's just some good, fun 1980s AOR radio soft rock. That's what this record is. It's a really nice record. I think I prefer this one, over maybe the first and third one, but we'll get to it again. I plan to do a artist retrospective on Nico, on his records that he released in Japan on VAP Records. So, all right. So this one is by a group called I. I don't know if it's A or I, but I'm just going to say I. So it's 117-07 by I. And the A-side is called Hitorigoto, and the B-side is called Mubuchi Kibun, released in November 1981. So I, as I said, is a short name for the group. Members include bassist Masahiro Mori, drums by Takashi Yagi, vocalist, percussion, and keyboards by Hiroyuki Kondo, and vocals and guitarists by Mitsuhiro Mori and Shigeto Sasaki and Takayuki Sasaki. Guitarist Takayuki Sasaki is the only member that I found other references of credits who appears on the 80s release of the GS group The Wild Ones and Tetsuo Hashi. So that's the only credit I've been able to find for these musicians. So this, as far as I know, this is the only record they did. I can't find any information of them being in other bands. So this is it. But this was one of the last ones I picked up for a while because this one's a little bit difficult to find. I had to wait for it, but I was blown away. When I got this record, I was completely shocked of what it sounded like. And it's a great, surprising 60s beat song, similar to the Beatles. Like, it's a very Beatles-sounding record, especially the B-side. So it's very fresh and just has just a really cool sound. And I was blown away. I would say Hitorigoto could easily have been a GS track by the Wild Ones or the Tempters. And it's funny because the guitarist ended up playing on a GS Wild Ones record in the 80s. And so I could see why Takayuki Sasaki was on the 80s Wild One album. But it's a very melodic GS Kaio track, and it's a wonderful song. It's a great, great, great record. I I'm going to say that many times. The B-side, Mabushi Kibun, had some great Mercy Beat Beatles-style guitar riffing and harmonies. This could have easily been a lost early Lennon McCartney track. It's that good. I mean, it could have been a song that Lennon McCartney wrote for like another band, and it's incredible. I blown away. It's a great record. I'll talk about it later, but I wish. Who knows if they recorded more singles or if they recorded an album and it was shelved. But man, I mean, it's unfortunate that this is the only single they ever release. Anyway, let's go ahead and go to the next one here. All right, so, okay, 118 is the Beatniks. A-side, No Way Out. B-side is Lo Robot de, so I think it's in French, December 5th, 1981. Beatniks was a collaboration between YMO's Yukihiko Takahashi and Moonriders leader Keishi Suzuki. I think more than most of the other records, I think this is the first record, in my opinion, that's the most relevant band and artist that's on the top of their game is the Beatniks. I think both these guys, storied histories, they have legacy, but they were also very relevant. And although the other ones, and they're cool, like we got some legacy 60s guys, 70s guys. I think this is the one that puts VAP. They got somebody that's really good when it comes to having just somebody that's relevant at that moment. And they let's go ahead and get into this. So they're an excellent, relevant addition to VAP roster. They would have releases on VAP as the Beatniks through the mid-90s. So they had a couple singles. They also released an album and an album in the 90s and some various other releases as well. I haven't really got into their other stuff, but their collaboration of the duo of the Beatniks consists of excellent synth pop and art rock and definitely elevated the label. The single was written by Takahashi. British broadcaster and YMO and Akiko Yano collaborator Peter Barakan also contributed lyrics to the release. No Way Out is a heavy percussive synth pop track, top level on every aspect of the song. Can't expect anything less from these two guys. Love the vocals, so different from anything that was on VAP at the time. The B-side has more of a Suzuki influence, which tends to have more of a creepy carnival sounding atmosphere on his productions. I don't have any Moonrider records, but I do have a lot of songs that he did produce for other people, and he tends to have like that darker, like carnival sound that's more of a moody and kind of a little bit of a creepiness to it. So the record reflects both both of who they are as musicians very well. There's a reason why these two guys, Suzuki and Takahashi, are legends. It's singles like this that continue to cement their legacy when you discover records like this by them. So yeah, I'm going to talk about this again in a little bit here when I kind of get some criticism of the label. So all right, so this is the last one, and this is 11907 by Akira Inaba, Soして愛and Kaze no Humming, December 5th, 1981. Now, again, I think they've gotten some really relevant people, Beatniks and Machida, and just throughout the whole group of these records, everybody's kind of relevant, and this guy is another relevant guy. First VAP single by legendary Kaio ballad singer Akira Inaba. He had previously been on labels as Disco Mate and CBS Sony, known for his massive song Wakate Kudasai. So Akira 1982-87 career would be with VAP, which would include 5 albums and 8 singles. Akira's War Cry label would be the first sub-label on VAP, with all his releases being released on War Cry label, but produced and manufactured by VAP. So he has his own label, on a sub-label on VAP called War Cry, so the label's different, but it does have the VAP logo on it, and it carries the VAP catalog running. Akira was an exceptional addition to VAP's artist roster. The A-side is the theme song to the Toho film Kai Karasu I Shote Mada Minu Koe, which translate to Asuka and My Yet Unborn Child. The film is a sad story. It's based on a true story of a real-life writer and director, Kazukiyo Imura, who was diagnosed with a fatal tumor and who wrote a memoir to his wife Michiko Imura and daughter Asuka, and then unborn child Kyoko. whom he never met. So he passed away before she was born. So it's kind of a heavy story, and I could see why Akira would be picked to sing a song like that, because he is, an awesome Kaio ballad singer, and he always can get that emotion across to the audience about the music. So in 1981, NHK produced a TV movie, which Inaba sung the theme song, which is this. So the lyrics and music was by Akira Inaba and arranged by prolific arranger Nozomi Okoi, who career goes back to the GS era, and with the Saints 4 was a GS band, Full Crusaders, and artists Sumiko Yamagata and Kiko Maruyama. So yeah, so his career is, and I see him releasing records to the 80s, but yeah, he was known for a lot of great arrangements from the late 60s and 70s. Again, I always say Akira is my guilty pleasure, and this single A-side, Soして愛, is no different. Akira's big expressive voice, his dramatic performance, and soulful music arrangements makes this a great first release for VAP. So the B-side is Kaze no Humming, is a great breezy pop song in kind of a Burt Bacharach style. Not really GS or anything, just a nice ballad. And Yumin, it kind of has like a real mellow Yumin type sound as well. So that's it. These were the 9 records that released 111 through 19. And so here's some of my comments and criticisms on these records. Really, the main one is just a better cross-section on the good side of artists. I mean, everybody is just like, most of these guys are top of the line guys, or they have a big legacy, and people that have, they're able to build a career. 7 of these 10 artists will go on to have at least a second released. So I think is one of the ones that don't. There's a thing with VAP saying like, okay, these are our artists we want to develop. These are artists we want to keep and want them to put out more music on our label. And so that's what I like about this round, because there's a better choice of not only the artist, but the music itself. I think all these records all sound great. They all, for what they are, if it's like a ballad, Akira's record, it sounds really cool. If it's kind of a city pop record, it's going to sound really good. If it's a soft rock record by Weekids, it's a good record. And there's not a bad, at least every record has at least one great song on it. But some of them have both great songs on it. But having artists like Ben Sasaki, the Beatniks, Akira Inaba, Yoshito Machida, and Ikko Furuya added a legitimate and contemporary big-name artist to the label. And Weekids added a great and modern soft rock pop sound to VAP. And what I consider, like I said before, the first city pop group on VAP. Not 100%, but in general, you'll like songs on it. Yasuji Matsumoto was the label's first attempt to add an original youth or idol artist to the label. I wasn't sure what. Again, I'm not sure how they presented him, but at least they tried to get somebody youthful on the label. And he's the first attempt of it. And so, like I said, regardless if the style is city pop, Kaio, idol Kaio, soft rock, beat, all 10 of these singles have great songs across them. And I guess really kind of my negative take on it is that I wish I could hear more from and I wish I could hear more from Yasuji Matsumoto. I think both of them have really had some great promising careers, and we didn't get neither. And Yasuji, for example, I think it would have been great to hear an album from him. I think it would have been pretty cool to have an album from him, because I think it would have been okay. I think it would have been a good album. And unfortunately, he just does the 2 singles, and who knows? They might have the VAP Vaults might have like his album like just sitting there, who knows? But the debut of the first city pop soft rock group, VAP Weekids, was again a nice addition, and they're going to be my second artist retrospective. I think again, like Nishida, I feel like a lot of people need to know more about his music and his career, and the music that he's released, or like the music that he released. But I want Weekids. I think they really need to know people need to discover their 3 singles in their album. But so that's it. It's actually, this is a very positive. I think compared to the first 10 records, I think this is a very positive group of records. And I think it puts more commitment to what the producers and the guys who were running VAP Records. I think it gave them much more I think it gave them much more of a high profile group of artists for people to follow, and with some great names attached to them. That's it. I will be doing the next group, which is going to be 120 through 129. That's going to be my next review, is that third group. And I'm also going to be doing Weekids, as I said before. So thank you again. My first VAP video of the first 10 records is my most viewed video on YouTube. So I appreciate anybody, if you guys shared it and enjoyed it, and hopefully learned some new stuff about the label, some little deep dives. So I appreciate everything, and I will get those videos up hopefully soon. Thank you.